10:20 a.m. GMT. Octavian Drake sat inside his private jet with his mobile phone to his ear. His heart pounded hard in his chest. His brother was dead. Austin McCord was missing. "Where are you, Belisarius?" "Outside Angelique's flat." "Any sign of Austin?" Of course McCord would try to get to his twin. She was likely the only person he knew in London. "No, but he did create quite the disturbance when he hijacked a delivery van and driver at gunpoint. Just got the report from an officer with the Met." "Damn." "My sentiments are the same, Majesty." "Talk to David Bathory. Do what you can to slow down the police's search for McCord," he said. "We must find Austin before the Metropolitan Police do." "I will do my best. What about his sister?" Good question. An intruder had defiled the Drake bloodline sanctuary. Servants were cleaning up the mess at this very moment. His brother Romulus, known by the alias Walter Turner, had been slain, his head severed from his body. Losing Rom crushed him utterly. There was no one else above ground he trusted more. Grief threatened to consume him, but he could not let it, not with his invisible enemy still on the loose. Though the slumbers of his family hadn't been disturbed, Austin's whereabouts were still unknown. "We don't have a choice. It's time for Angelique to know the whole truth." "Are you sure?" "As sure as I can be with what is going on." The other bloodlines were screaming for the head of the Ripper. The situation could not be more dire. "Is it possible that McCord is already inside with his sister?" "Let's hope so. It will make your job easier. I'll report back as soon as I can." "I'll be in flight in the next 10 minutes. I should be in London early this afternoon. Don't fail me, Belisarius." He clicked off the phone. Ivana, the woman who had been part of his flight crew for many years, brought him and Duchess Lupe drinks. He took the glass of vodka. The Duchess took the wine. "Thank you, miss." Duchess Lupe was dressed head to toe in black. Despite her short stature, she had always commanded a regal bearing befitting her bloodline. Now, though, Octavian could see the cracks within her armor, including the barely perceptible way her hand shook as she accepted the wine. The grieving woman's husband, Duke Lupe, had asked Octavian if she could fly to London on his plane. Of course he'd said yes, glad to help Gail's mother in any way he could. She wanted to collect the personal items from her daughter's flat in London. Duke Lupe decided to remain in Romania at their estate outside the town of Fariza. The Lupe bloodline had always played an important role in the administration of the Imperial Morvicti Council. That noble bloodline had been awarded a seat at the table after the eradication of the traitorous Stalcuks. Stopping the Stalcuks' centuries-long rebellion against the crown had been costly. Many a noble's head had been severed. The council had to remain vigilant, always. But Octavian knew Duke Lupe's reason for remaining in country had little to do with work for the Morvicti. "Mr. Turner," Ivana said, calling him by his latest alias, "the pilot wanted me to inform you that we'll be taking off shortly and should arrive in London by 1:30 p.m. She smiled. "In 90 minutes, if you look out the left window, you'll see Prague." He took a sip of his drink, needing a distraction to calm his thoughts. "That's where you're from, Ivana, isn't it?" She nodded. "I'm surprised you know that." "You mentioned it in your interview." "That was 6 years ago. You have quite the recall, sir." "About some things I do." He wasn't about to tell her that he had an eidetic memory. Ivana had a lovely personality, but she wasn't one of the Morvicti, nor did she have any knowledge about his kind. Best to keep it that way for her sake. "Would you like something to eat, Mr. Turner?" "No, just the drink, thank you." "How about you, Mrs. Simmons?" "I'm fine." Ivana nodded and returned to her seat. Realizing the Duchess was deep in her own thoughts, Octavian looked out the window. He saw the thick tree line that had been planted centuries ago to hide the estate that was the center of the Morvicti's polity. The engines roared to life. The jet sped down the airstrip that had been built in the early 60s. He knew that the monies given to the locals were well spent. No one ever breathed a word to any outsiders of the traffic that went in and out of the property, whether by car or air. Non-Morvicti personnel were very well paid for their silence. As the jet left the ground, he continued peering out the window. Even if someone stumbled upon the estate, they would discover only a humble farmhouse. This runway wasn't without explanation either, thanks to the operatives within the Romanian government, which identified the airstrip as a refueling station for the military. What the unsuspecting would never learn is that the farmhouse was atop a massive underground network of chambers that held the workings of the most powerful organization in the world, the Imperial Morvicti Council. The first time he'd been summoned to appear before the council, he'd lived in Ivana's birthplace. How long had it been since he'd been in Prague? Many, many years. While there, he'd met a man who had turned out to be his enemy, the enemy of all the Morvicti. Blood had flowed, and death had chilled the air. He realized the past had slammed back into his present. Careful not to grip the glass too tight to keep from crushing it, a protective rage flooded every single nerve of his body. He swallowed the rest of his drink. His chief pilot's voice came over the intercom. "Mr. Turner, there are reports of turbulence ahead. I recommend that you, Duchess Lupe, and Ivana remain seated for the next hour." "Thank you, we will." He sat down his empty glass and fastened his belt around his waist. Turbulence ahead, indeed. I made a promise to Catherine. I will not fail. 10:25 a.m. Austin stared at the street below. The man in the dark suit put his cell away. "Angelique, we have to go now." His sister took a step towards the window, but he held out his hand, motioning her to stop. "This is my flat." "Maybe so, but I'm going to keep you safe. No closer." She folded her arms in front of her, reminding him of the feisty young woman she'd always been. Even though he now accepted the fact that he'd lost so many years, he still could not believe that she was over 40. Not possible. She looked more like a woman in her mid to late 20s. The last time they'd been together, they'd both been only 18, which in his mind was just 11 years ago, not over 20. "It might be Michael, Austin." "It isn't." He wasn't about to let her get too close to the window. "You've been out of commission for several years and haven't seen Michael. You might not recognize him." "That bastard outside isn't Remington, sis." He had a ton of questions about her and his old buddy. Like, when did they begin dating? How did Remington end up in London? What was he doing now? But the interrogation would have to wait. "We need to move." "Let me call Michael first." She opened her purse. "You can call him when we get out of here. Remington married my sister. He knew his friend would protect her. Right now there's no time, Angelique." "Michael was headed home when we last talked. If you're right, I don't want him coming in and getting ambushed." "Neither do I." Austin recalled the Iraqi bullet that had been meant for his friend. "Make the call." "He works at the U.S. Embassy." She brought out a rectangular white device, thinner than a deck of cards. There were no buttons on it, which surprised him. "He can help us, Austin." Dark Suit remained on the other side of the street. "Make it fast." More than anything, he wanted to get Angelique to her husband. She ran her finger over her cell's surface. An image of Michael appeared. She didn't bring it to her ear, as the man on the street had done, but held it out in front of her. A live image of Michael, a little older than the man he'd taken the bullet for in Iraq, but still recognizable, filled the screen. It was obvious that technology had advanced a great deal since he'd been gone. The driver of the van had been right. His flip phone was old. Michael's voice came through Angelique's cell. "Hey, honey, sorry I ended up staying longer, but—" She shook her head. "Michael, wait, don't come home. Someone is watching our flat. Where can we meet?" "Don't go anywhere. Make sure the doors are locked. Get my spare gun out of my desk. It's loaded. Austin grabbed the device out of Angelique's hand. "Can you see me, Remington?" "What the hell, Austin?" Michael frowned. "No time to talk. There is an unfriendly outside this place. I need to get Angelique out of here and back to you." Michael's eyes narrowed in apparent disbelief. Not surprising that he didn't believe it was him. "Understood. I'll text you coordinates to a safe place we can meet." "Michael, you be careful too." Angelique's voice trembled. "I'll send some officers to our place to deal with the unfriendly." Officers doesn't sound like a State Department guy to me. When Austin saw the man across the street head their direction, he grabbed his sister. She clutched her purse. They went back into the other room. Keeping hold of the gun he'd retrieved from the headless victim, he picked up the bag with the dead man's clothes. They ran out of her flat and rushed down the service stairs. Having been in dangerous situations before, he automatically focused his senses on his surroundings. He could hear the hurried footsteps on the main stairs of the man he'd spotted on the street below Angelique's window. "Where do these stairs lead to?" he asked in a low tone. "A small private courtyard." When they came to a door with a keypad, the heavy pounding at Angelique's home above them resonated in their ears. She quickly punched in numbers and the door's locks gave way. They bolted out into the open space, and he shut the door behind them. Angelique let out a sigh. "The keypad should keep that guy, whoever he is, from following us. The door won't open without the code." "Maybe, but we need to keep moving." He hated seeing the panic on her face. Had he brought trouble to her, or was she already in trouble? He thought about the framed photo he'd seen by his bedside. The answer might have been a little of both. He spotted a narrow walkway squeezed between two of the buildings. "Let's go." As they ran through the passage, they heard several shots behind them. "Oh, God!" His sister's eyes were wide with fear. "He's shooting the keypad." When they came out the other side of the passage, they stepped onto a curve of a narrow street. Grabbing her hand, they went right, passing the Lamb and Flag pub. A man with a white apron stood outside the place smoking. As they ran past the smoker, Austin turned to his sister. "We have to go where there's a lot of people." "Piccadilly Circus is a 10-minute walk. Half that if we run." "Lead the way." Just before they took another right, he glanced back at the opening of the narrow passage they'd come from. So far, there was no sign of their assailant, thank God. He tucked the gun into the pocket of the jacket, but kept his hand firmly wrapped around its grip. Continuing to race at a heartbreaking pace, Angelique led them down several London streets. Staying alert, he constantly checked behind them. They passed just a few people along the way, who gave them the typical English subtle glance. "Crowds, Angelique, that's what we need." She nodded, never slowing. Out of breath, she said, "The block up ahead is always busy, especially since the Hippodrome was turned into a casino. Piccadilly is even busier." "Let's slow down so as not to attract any more attention." "Okay, just a few more blocks." He put his arm around her shoulder. "Good." "Do you think we lost him?" she asked. Looking back once again, he spotted the man, who at the exact same moment had clearly spotted him. Their assailant rushed towards them. "Run, sis, into the casino. We lose him in there." As they bolted to the Hippodrome, he thought about letting her go on ahead so he could neutralize the guy, but this location didn't serve that plan. There were too many on the street. They walked under the sign that read, "Welcome to the Hippodrome. Free entry, no membership." They headed up 4 steps through an archway. The noisy casino served them well. When they came out into the open area, he pulled Angelique left and moved into a dark alcove. 30 seconds later, he saw the man who'd been chasing them appear at the top of the entry archway. Austin tightened his hold on the pistol in the pocket of the jacket. A heavy-set gambler who was noticeably intoxicated bumped into their assailant, knocking them both to the floor. "Sorry, mate, I'm a bit pissed." The man stood, dusting himself off before offering a hand to the drunk. "You need to be more careful, sir, especially when you are drinking." A security guard noticed the altercation and walked over. "Problem?" Dark Suit frowned. "No, everything is fine." "My fault," the fat drunk said, struggling to his feet. "You two need to come with me," the guard said firmly. Seeing Dark Suit reach into his overcoat, Austin prepared to bring out his weapon. When he saw him pass some identification over to the guard, he loosened his hold on his pistol, but didn't let go of it completely. The guard looked shocked by what he saw. "Is this for real?" "Yes." Dark Suit smiled, taking back his credentials. "So sorry for the trouble, Commissioner Poole." The guard stepped back. "What brings the head of the City of London's police service to the Hippodrome today?" "Commissioner Poole," Angelique whispered, her shock mirroring his own. "What kind of trouble are you in, Austin?" He shrugged, thinking he could ask her the same question. "Just thought I might try my hand at one of your tables." The lie came off the commissioner's lips like silk. "It's my day off." "I thought so. This is outside your jurisdiction, isn't it?" "Sure is. I'm happy to let the Met handle the rest of London." The fat man smiled, his eyes heavy with drink. "Guard, this gentleman has done nothing wrong," he said, slurring his word. "I swear." "I know he hasn't, sir." The guard was visibly irritated with the drunk. "You have." "Do you need anything else from me?" The commissioner scanned the casino. "No, sir. I need to escort this gentleman out." "But I would like another drink." "Not happening, sir," the guard said. Without another word, the man who had followed them from Angelique's home turned opposite their direction, heading deeper into the Hippodrome. When the coast was clear, he and Angelique ran back to the arch, past the guard and fat man, and back out onto the street. A couple was getting out of a black cab. He and Angelique jumped in. "Where to?" the driver asked. Angelique brought out her cell. "Coach and Horse's Yard. Fast." As the driver pulled away, Austin saw the commissioner step out of the casino, talking on his cell. He seemed unaware that they were in the taxi. 10:58 a.m. Dr. Thomas Wilson relit his pipe, enjoying the aroma of his favorite tobacco. Being in his home, surrounded by his possessions, gave him little comfort. Trying to quiet his fears of the current situation, he ran his hand over the arm of his chair, which he'd acquired long ago during a trip to Scotland. The large wingback had spoken to him with its new dark leather. Now its fabric had years of wear, like him. He looked down at the notes he'd been preparing for his interview with the BBC. "Special delivery for you, Doctor." Gita came in, carrying a small box. "It's likely something for the lab." She shook her head. "It's addressed directly to you, but there's no return address." A shiver ran up and down his spine as he thought about the horrific letter he had received from the killer Monday. It, too, had no return address. "Hand it here." Trembling slightly, partially from his disease and partially from his anxiety, he placed the little box on the top of his stack of newspapers. Gita peered over his shoulder. "Do you think it could be from the Reaper?" "I hope not." Thankfully, his medications were keeping his Parkinson's under control. He could not imagine having to ask Gita to open the package. Even with his disease, he had always managed to be independent. Using his letter opener, he sliced the tape that sealed the box. Inside sat an envelope and a small carton. On the envelope were the words, "A gift for you, dear boss." He recognized the handwriting. It matched the Ripper's initial letter to him. Wilson took a deep drag on his pipe as the final words of the killer's first note vibrated silently on his lips. "I admire your work, Wilson. More to come, dear boss, more to come." He had an odd feeling in the pit of his stomach on just what kind of present the bastard might have sent him. "Let's go to the lab." "You're not going to open it?" "Not until I have gloves on. And all of them are in the laboratory, my dear." "Very smart, sir. We don't want to disturb any fingerprints." "Care to join me in this endeavor, Gita?" "Absolutely." As frightened as she appeared, her curiosity seemed to propel her forward. Like him, she wanted to know if this package had really come from the Ripper, or was just something innocuous from one of Wilson's distant relatives or admiring students. He held the box and took Gita's hand. They stepped into the lift and went down to the floor below. Walking through the double doors, he entered the most sacred space in the world to him, his beloved laboratory. Quite the opposite of his quarters above, which were reminiscent of an earlier age, this massive room was modern in every way with its bright lights, computers, and stainless steel surfaces. "Dr. Wilson, how are you doing?" The man who spoke was perched on a stool in front of some slides, pulling on a pair of neoprene gloves. He was the only person Wilson didn't recognize. "Mr. Reeves, I assume?" "Yes, sir. John." "May I have everyone's attention?" He appreciated their hard work, but he didn't want to expose them to whatever gift the monster had sent. There would be too many questions and not enough answers. "Today is a holiday. Everyone go home." "Sir, are you sure?" Reeves seemed to have a fire and eagerness for his research. He admired that greatly in anyone. There were so few. "I'm certain. Bring me a pair of gloves and then go, all of you." One bolted out the door. The other three, including Reeves, seemed confused. Sharpening his tone, he said, "I do not want to repeat myself." The rest left, save Reeves. The lad brought him the gloves as requested. Reeves's eyes fell to the package. "Anything I can help you with, sir? I'd be happy to assist." "Thank you, but I will be fine." "Will I? Really?" "Just want to inspect the lab and make sure everyone is following my protocols." "I think you'll be happy with what you find, sir. I know I was when your team gave me the tour this morning. Thank you again for this amazing opportunity." "Go enjoy the day, young man." Reeves walked out, leaving him and Gita alone in the space. Wilson placed the box on the nearest table, donning the gloves. He carefully brought out the note, unfolding the paper. The script he saw matched that of the previous letter, though the message was more succinct and had no grammatical errors. Perhaps the killer wasn't as illiterate as previously believed. Was the man trying to present a more educated version of himself in this note? "What does it say?" Gita asked. He read the message aloud to her. "A gift for you, boss. I know you will like it. Want to help you with your work, and it's signed Jack." Wilson tried to digest the full meaning of the letter. If his first inclination was right, he needed to act cautiously. "It's obvious to me that you already have an idea what's inside the smaller package." Gita's voice sounded meek, something he had never heard before. "Would you care to share your thoughts, Thomas?" It was rare for her to use his first name, another sign at how nervous she was. "I believe this may contain blood samples of the Ripper's victims, Gita." He sighed and opened the second carton. His stomach lurched at what he found. Not blood samples. Gita shrieked, seeing the 2 severed fingers packed in dry ice. "Calm yourself." His words were for him as well as her. Peering into the package, he could see the digits were not from a male, too slight. One of the fingernails was painted a bright red. The other was clear. "I'm fairly certain these came from Nancy Black and Gail Simmons." In a shaky voice she asked, Would you like me to cancel your interview with Miss White and your appointment with Dr. Vickers? No, I have plenty of time to make that interview and the appointment. Surely you won't be telling Miss White at the BBC about these? No, of course not. Shall I ring Commissioner Poole? The commissioner had been very accommodating to him since he had turned over the killer's letter to the police. Poole was personally handling the copycat Ripper case and had given him his direct line should the killer contact him again. His mind was spinning. Not just yet, Gita. Sir? I'm going to test these first. Too bad he had sent the young technician home. He could have used Reeves's help. But how would he have explained the bloody digits to him? You're going to assist me. Just like the old days when it was just you and me in this lab. He nodded, recalling how quickly she'd learned the technicalities of running genetic tests. She smiled. You won't have time to wait for the results, Dr. Wilson, because of your appointments. Right you are. You'll have to finish the test for me. She nodded. You will need to change after we set up these tests. I selected a green tie for the camera. It will bring out your eyes. Gita, imagine if we can match the DNA of these fingers to Dr. Vickers' mummies. If she allows you to get a sample. As you know, I can be quite charming when necessary. Yes, you can. She looked back at the box. Do you really think these will have the DNA you've been searching for? Under other circumstances, he would have been thrilled at the possibility. Now, not only was he excited, but he was also terrified. Let's find out. Thanks for watching Morvicti Blood, Episode 7, The Hollow Gift. You've just stepped into something ancient, and it's only getting started. New episodes drop every Monday and Friday, but if you want more now, the full 8-part prequel Morvicti Execution is already live. Start there to witness the betrayal that set everything in motion. Want to read ahead and uncover secrets not yet shown on screen? The full novel, Morvicti Blood, is available now on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description if you dare. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. What do you think? What creeped you out? What do you think survives? For early access, bonus episodes, and forbidden lore, join our inner circle, Bloodbound, at patreon.com/Lee Swift. Until next time, keep your lights on, stay quiet, and whatever you do, don't answer the knock at your door.